I thought the worst thing that could happen in Morocco was getting ripped off by a street vendor. I was wrong. Dead wrong. What happened to me in Jemaa el-Fnaa wasn't a scam. It was a trap. A human trap. And I walked right into it with my camera and my stupid optimism, thinking I was going to find myself in the chaos of Marrakech. Instead, I found something much darker. Something organized. Something that made me realize how powerless you are when you're alone in a foreign country, surrounded by people who speak a language you don't understand, in a place where screaming for help just blends into the noise of 1,000 other voices. I went to Morocco to escape pain, to leave behind a breakup that crushed me, to reset. Seattle felt too small, too suffocating, too full of memories I wanted to burn. So I bought a ticket to Marrakech. I wanted spices, sunsets, adventure. I wanted to feel alive again, and for about 6 hours it worked. The square was everything I'd imagined. Acrobats, snake charmers, grilled meat smoke mixing with incense, colors I'd never seen before. I was taking pictures, smiling like an idiot, thinking this trip was going to save me. But then I noticed the eyes. 3 different men. Always watching, always repositioning, always closer. By the time I realized what was happening, it was too late. The exits I'd walked through an hour earlier were now blocked. Not by accident, by design. Merchants stood in clusters, shoulder to shoulder, forming walls I couldn't see until I tried to leave. One grabbed my wrist, another stepped in front of me, a third appeared behind me. They spoke to each other in low, fast Arabic, hand signals I didn't understand. And then one of them smiled and said the words that made my blood freeze. "You don't leave until you pay." That's when I knew I wasn't getting out of there without a fight. Before we continue, please comment below with the city you're watching from. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like. My name is Ethan Miller. I'm 32 years old. I work as a graphic designer in Seattle. Or I did, anyway, before I decided I needed to get as far away from my life as possible. The breakup happened 3 months before Morocco. Her name was Claire. We were together for 4 years. She left without much explanation. Just said she needed something different. Something I wasn't. I spent weeks replaying every conversation, every mistake, every moment I could have done better. It didn't help. Nothing helped. My apartment felt like a tomb. My friends tried to cheer me up, but their pity made it worse. I needed to leave. Not just the city. The entire country. The entire version of myself that got left behind. So I booked a flight to Marrakech. I'd never been to Africa. Never been to a Muslim country. I didn't speak Arabic or French. I didn't know anyone there. That was the point. I wanted to be uncomfortable. I wanted to be so far outside my comfort zone that I'd have no choice but to become someone else. Someone stronger. Someone who didn't spend every night staring at the ceiling, wondering what went wrong. I bought a good camera. Downloaded some travel apps. Watched a few YouTube videos about Moroccan culture. And then I got on the plane. The flight was long. 15 hours with a layover in Paris. I didn't sleep much. Just stared out the window and thought about what I was doing. Part of me felt ridiculous, running away to Morocco like some character in a movie. But another part of me felt something I hadn't felt in months, excitement, maybe even hope. When we landed in Marrakech, the heat hit me the second I stepped off the plane. Dry, heavy, suffocating. It was late afternoon. The sun was white and brutal. I took a taxi to my riad in the Medina. The driver didn't speak much English, but he smiled a lot and played music I'd never heard before. Drums and strings and a woman's voice that sounded like she was singing from another century. The riad was beautiful. Small, tucked into a narrow alley, surrounded by high walls. Inside, it opened into a courtyard with a fountain and orange trees. My room was simple. White walls, a low bed, a tiny window that looked out onto the rooftops. I dropped my bag and sat on the bed for a minute, just breathing. I'd made it. I was here, thousands of miles from Seattle, thousands of miles from Claire, thousands of miles from the person I used to be. I felt lighter already. I spent the first day wandering. The Medina was a maze, narrow streets twisting in every direction, shops selling leather bags, ceramics, jewelry, rugs, the smell of spices and grilled meat everywhere. Vendors called out to me in English. "My friend, come look, best price." I smiled and kept walking. I wasn't ready to buy anything yet. I just wanted to absorb it all. The chaos, the color, the noise. It was overwhelming in the best way. My brain didn't have room for Claire anymore. It was too busy trying to navigate streets that didn't have names and avoiding motorbikes that came out of nowhere. That night, I had dinner at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city. Tagine with lamb and apricots. Mint tea so sweet it made my teeth ache. The sun set slowly, turning the sky pink and orange. I could see the Kutubia Mosque in the distance, its minaret glowing in the last light. For the first time in months, I felt something close to peace. I took out my camera and started shooting. The light, the buildings, the people below. I wasn't thinking about anything except the next shot, the next angle, the next moment worth capturing. The next day, I decided to visit Jemaa el-Fnaa. Everyone told me it was the heart of Marrakech, the main square where everything happened. Street performers, food stalls, snake charmers, storytellers. I'd seen pictures online, but I wanted to experience it myself. I left the riad around 4 in the afternoon. The square was only a 10-minute walk. The streets were crowded. Tourists mixed with locals. Donkeys pulling carts. Kids running past me, laughing. I felt good, confident, like I was finally doing something right. When I reached the square, I stopped at the edge and just stared. It was massive, bigger than I expected. Hundreds of people moving in every direction, smoke rising from grills, drums echoing from somewhere I couldn't see, acrobats in bright costumes flipping and spinning in the middle of a crowd. A man with a monkey on his shoulder was charging tourists for photos. Another man played a wooden flute while a cobra swayed in a basket in front of him. The noise was incredible. Shouting, music, laughter, the honking of motorbikes trying to push through. It was sensory overload, and I loved it. I walked into the chaos with my camera around my neck. I started shooting everything. A woman selling oranges stacked in perfect pyramids. A group of boys playing drums made from old cans. An old man sitting on a stool carving something out of wood. Everyone seemed used to cameras. Some people smiled, some ignored me. A few waved me over, trying to sell me something. I kept moving. I didn't want to stop yet. I wanted to see it all. The sun was starting to drop. The light was perfect, golden and warm. The buildings around the square glowed. I found a spot near a row of juice vendors and stood there for a while, just watching. This was why I came here. This energy, this life, this feeling that the world was bigger and stranger and more beautiful than I'd remembered. I took a deep breath. I felt free. Then I noticed the man with the oils. He appeared next to me without warning, smiling, holding a small wooden box. He opened it and showed me rows of tiny glass bottles. "Argan oil," he said in English. "Very good. Moroccan gold. For you, my friend." I shook my head. "No, thank you." He didn't leave. He took one of the bottles and opened it, holding it under my nose. "Smell. Very good. Natural." I stepped back. "I'm not interested." He kept smiling, but his eyes didn't match. He moved closer. "Just smell. Free. No buy." I smelled it to be polite. It smelled fine, like nuts and something floral. "Okay," I said. "Thank you." I tried to walk away. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but firm. "You try on skin," he said. Before I could pull away, he rubbed some of the oil on the back of my hand. Then he closed the bottle and held out his hand. $10. I blinked. What? You said it was free. He shook his head. Sample free. But you use. You pay. I felt a flash of anger. I didn't ask you to put it on me. He didn't let go of my wrist. His smile was gone now. You pay. $10. I pulled my hand back. No. I turned and walked away quickly. My heart was pounding. I hated confrontation. I hated feeling trapped. But I kept moving. I could hear him shouting behind me, but I didn't look back. I pushed into the crowd, trying to blend in. My hand still smelled like the oil. I wiped it on my jeans, annoyed. That was stupid, I told myself. I should have just ignored him from the start. But it was over. I was fine. I kept walking. Except I wasn't fine. Because 10 minutes later, I saw him again. The same man. Standing near a row of spice vendors, talking to 2 other men. And when I walked past, all 3 of them looked at me. Not casually. Not the way you glance at a stranger in a crowd. They looked at me like they knew exactly who I was. Like they'd been waiting. I told myself I was being paranoid. Marrakech was full of aggressive vendors. It didn't mean anything. The square was huge, but not that huge. Running into the same person twice wasn't impossible. I kept walking. I tried to focus on the performers. The acrobats were doing backflips in a circle of tourists. A man was juggling flaming sticks. The drumming was louder now. The sun was almost down, and the square was getting more crowded, more chaotic. I should have felt safe in the crowd, but I didn't. I stopped at a stall selling leather bags. The owner was an older man with kind eyes. He showed me a messenger bag, explaining the quality of the leather, how it was dyed, how long it would last. I wasn't really listening. I was watching the crowd behind him, looking for the oil man. I didn't see him. Maybe I'd lost him. Maybe he'd moved on to someone else. I thanked the leather vendor and kept moving. I walked toward the food stalls on the far side of the square. The smoke was thick here. Dozens of grills lined up in rows, each one cooking skewers of meat, sausages, fish. Men shouted at tourists, waving menus, promising the best food in Morocco. I wasn't hungry, but I thought maybe I'd sit down for a bit, get my bearings, stop feeling like I was being watched. I found a stall with a few empty stools and sat down. The man behind the grill nodded at me and handed me a menu. It was sticky and stained. I ordered a Coke. He brought it in a glass bottle, warm. I sat there sipping the Coke, watching the square. The light was fading fast now. The sky was purple. Lanterns were being lit. The energy of the place was shifting. It felt less touristy, more local. I saw families sitting together, eating. Groups of men drinking tea and talking. I felt like an outsider, which I was. But it was more than that. I felt exposed, visible, like everyone could see that I didn't belong. Then I saw the second man, not the oil guy, someone else, younger, wearing a green jacket. He was standing about 20 feet away, leaning against a cart full of oranges, and he was staring at me, not glancing, staring. When our eyes met, he didn't look away. He just kept watching. My stomach tightened. I looked down at my Coke, took another sip, counted to 10. Then I looked up again. He was still there, still staring. I stood up, left a few coins on the counter, started walking in the opposite direction. I didn't look back. I just moved. Fast. I passed a group of tourists taking selfies. I passed a man selling henna tattoos. I passed a woman with a tray of sweets balanced on her head. I kept my eyes forward, but I could feel it. That prickling sensation on the back of my neck. The feeling of being followed. I risked a glance over my shoulder. The man in the green jacket was behind me. Not close. Maybe 30 feet back. But he was there. Moving when I moved. Stopping when I stopped. My heart started hammering. Okay, I thought. Okay, this is real. I wasn't imagining it. I needed to get out of the square, get back to the riad, lock the door, figure out what the hell was happening. I headed toward the edge of the square, where the streets led back into the Medina. But when I got close, I saw the third man. He was standing right at the entrance to the street I needed, arms crossed, watching me. He was older, bald, wearing a brown jalaba, and he wasn't moving. He was just blocking the way. Not obviously. He could have been standing there for any reason, but I knew he was part of this. I stopped, turned around, tried a different exit. There were multiple streets leading out of the square. I'd been in and out of this place a dozen times today. I knew there were options. But when I headed toward the next street, I saw another man, younger, leaning against a wall, smoking, looking right at me. And then I saw the oil man again, standing near a row of rugs, talking to someone on a phone. But his eyes were on me. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe right. How many of them were there? 4, 5? I didn't know. I couldn't tell who was part of it and who was just a random person. The crowd felt different now. Thicker. Closer. I couldn't see the exits clearly anymore. The noise was louder. Drums, shouting, music. It all blended together into this roaring wall of sound that made it impossible to think. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking. I thought about calling someone. But who? The police? I didn't know the number. The embassy. I didn't have the number saved. My friends back home? What were they going to do from Seattle? I opened Google Maps, trying to orient myself. The GPS was slow. The blue dot kept jumping around. I couldn't tell which direction I was facing. A hand touched my shoulder. I spun around. It was a woman. Young. Maybe mid-20s. She was holding a tray with small glasses of tea. "You want tea?" she asked in English. Her voice was soft. Calm. I shook my head. "No, thank you." She didn't leave. She leaned in closer. "You are lost?" I hesitated. "I'm fine." She glanced over my shoulder, then back at me. "You need to leave," she said quietly. "Now." I stared at her. "What?" She set the tray down on a nearby table. "You see the men watching you?" I nodded. My throat was dry. "They are not good," she said. "They do this to tourists. They trap you. Make you pay. Sometimes worse." My pulse was racing. "How do I get out?" She pointed toward a narrow alley between 2 buildings. "Go that way. Fast. Don't stop." I looked where she was pointing. It was dark. I couldn't see where it led. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "Go, now." I didn't wait. I started walking toward the alley. Then I started jogging. Behind me, I heard shouting, angry voices. I didn't look back. I just ran. The alley was narrow, barely wide enough for one person. The walls on either side were high, covered in peeling paint and graffiti. The ground was uneven. I stumbled over a loose stone but kept going. My camera bounced against my chest. My backpack slammed against my spine. I could hear footsteps behind me. More than one person. They were fast, getting closer. I ran harder. My lungs burned. The alley twisted to the left, then to the right. I had no idea where I was going. I just kept moving. I emerged into a small courtyard. Empty. Silent. 4 different alleys branched off from it. I didn't know which one to take. I picked one at random and kept running. This alley was even narrower. The walls were so close I could touch both sides if I stretched out my arms. It smelled like garbage and urine. There were boxes and bags piled up along the sides. I kicked one out of the way as I ran. Behind me, the footsteps were still there. I could hear voices, shouting in Arabic. I didn't understand the words, but I understood the tone. They were angry, and they were coming for me. The alley opened into a wider street. There were people here, shops, lights. I slowed down, gasping for air. I looked behind me. I could see shadows moving in the alley. I didn't wait to see who it was. I turned and walked quickly into the crowd, trying to blend in, trying to look normal. My legs felt like rubber. My hands were still shaking. I walked for 10 minutes without stopping. I had no idea where I was. The streets all looked the same. Narrow, twisting, lined with shops and doorways. I passed a mosque, a school, a bakery with trays of bread in the window. I kept my head down, kept moving. Every time I heard footsteps behind me, my heart jumped. But no one grabbed me. No one shouted. Maybe I'd lost them. Maybe they'd given up. I found a small cafe with plastic chairs outside. I sat down, ordered a coffee I didn't want. The man brought it in a tiny cup. It was thick and sweet and too hot. I held it in both hands, trying to stop the shaking. I looked around. No one was watching me. No one seemed to care. I was just another tourist. Anonymous. Safe. For now. But I knew it wasn't over. I could feel it. The way they'd looked at me. The way they'd coordinated. The way they'd blocked the exits. This wasn't random. This wasn't just aggressive vendors. This was something else. Something organized. And I had no idea how to protect myself. I pulled out my phone again. Opened Google Maps. Tried to figure out where I was. The GPS finally locked in. I was on the other side of the Medina, far from the square, far from my riad. I'd been running in the wrong direction. I zoomed in on the map, looking for a route back. It was going to take at least 20 minutes, through streets I didn't know. In the dark. I finished the coffee, left some money on the table, stood up. My legs were sore. My back ached from the running, but I couldn't stay here. I needed to get back to the riad, lock myself in, figure out what to do next. I started walking, slowly, carefully, watching every face, every shadow, every movement. And that's when I saw him again. The man in the green jacket, standing at the end of the street, waiting. I froze. My brain screamed at me to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The man in the green jacket didn't come closer. He just stood there, blocking the street, watching me with that same dead stare. How did he find me? How did he know where I'd be? I'd been running for 20 minutes. I'd taken random turns. There was no way he could have followed me. Unless he didn't need to follow me. Unless they knew the Medina well enough to predict where I'd end up. I turned around, started walking in the opposite direction. My hands were clenched into fists. My jaw was tight. I was trying to look calm, trying to blend in, but inside I was panicking. I walked past a shop selling carpets, past a man repairing shoes on the sidewalk, past a group of kids kicking a soccer ball against a wall. No one looked at me. No one cared. I was alone in a crowd of people who couldn't help me even if they wanted to. The street curved to the right. I followed it, checked over my shoulder. The man in the green jacket was behind me, not running, just walking, keeping pace. I walked faster. He walked faster. I turned down a side street. He turned too. My heart was slamming against my ribs. This was really happening. I was being hunted, in broad daylight, in the middle of a city, and no one around me had any idea. I saw a shop with its door open. A man inside was arranging shelves of spices. I walked in without thinking. "Excuse me," I said. "Do you speak English?" He looked up, smiled. "Yes, a little." I glanced at the door. The man in the green jacket walked past slowly. Didn't look in. But I knew he was waiting. "I need help," I said. "There's someone following me." The shopkeeper's smile faded. He looked confused. "Following?" I nodded. "A man, maybe more. They've been following me since the square." He frowned, walked to the door and looked outside. Then he turned back to me. "I don't see anyone." I stepped closer. He was just there, I swear. He's been following me for almost an hour. The shopkeeper shrugged. Many people walk in the Medina. Maybe you are confused. I felt a surge of frustration. I'm not confused. They're coordinating. They blocked the exits in Jemaa el-Fnaa. They're working together. He stared at me for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe you should go back to your hotel." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just nodded. "Yeah. Okay. Thank you." I walked back outside. The man in the green jacket was gone. The street was empty except for an old woman carrying a basket. I stood there, trying to decide which way to go. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out. A text from my mom. "How's Morocco? Send pictures." I almost laughed. It was so absurd. I couldn't even begin to explain what was happening. I opened Google Maps again. My riad was still 15 minutes away. I needed to move. I picked a direction and started walking. Fast. My eyes scanned every doorway, every alley, every face. I passed a butcher shop with animal carcasses hanging in the window. I passed a fountain where a man was washing his hands. I passed a narrow staircase leading up to someone's home. Everything felt threatening now. Every shadow, every sound. Then I heard it. Footsteps behind me. Multiple sets. I didn't turn around. I just walked faster. The footsteps matched my pace. I turned down another street. They turned too. I broke into a jog. They started running. My camera swung wildly. My backpack slammed against me. I didn't care. I just needed to get away. I turned a corner and almost ran into a cart full of oranges. The vendor shouted at me in Arabic. I stumbled around it and kept going. The street ahead split into 3 paths. I took the middle one. It was darker here, quieter. I could hear my own breathing, and I could hear them behind me, closer now. I risked a glance back. 3 men, maybe 4. I couldn't tell. They were moving fast. Their faces were hard, angry. The street ended at a wall, a dead end. No, 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 no. I spun around. They were already there, blocking the way back. The oil man was in front. The man in the green jacket was to his left. 2 others I didn't recognize were on the right. They weren't shouting. They weren't rushing. They just walked toward me slowly, like they had all the time in the world. "You owe money," the oil man said. His voice was calm, almost friendly. I backed up until I hit the wall. "I don't owe you anything." He smiled. "You used my product. You pay. Simple." I shook my head. "You forced it on me. I didn't ask for it." He stopped a few feet away. "Doesn't matter. You pay. $50. "50?" He'd said 10 before. "That's insane," I said. "I'm not paying you anything." The man in the green jacket stepped forward. He didn't say anything. He just reached for my backpack. I jerked away. "Don't touch me." He grabbed the strap and pulled. I held on. We struggled for a moment. Then one of the other men grabbed my arm. I tried to pull free, but his grip was like iron. "Let go of me!" I shouted. No one came. No one even looked. We were in a dead-end alley. No one could see us. No one could hear us. The oil man stepped closer. "Give me your wallet, or your camera, your choice." I felt a wave of rage. "Go to hell." He sighed, like I was being unreasonable, like I was the problem. He said something in Arabic to the others. The man holding my arm twisted it behind my back. Pain shot through my shoulder. I gasped. "Okay, okay." He let up slightly. "Wallet," the oil man said. I reached into my pocket with my free hand. Pulled out my wallet. It had maybe $60 in cash, my credit cards, my driver's license. He took it, opened it, counted the cash. Not enough. He looked at my camera. "I'll take this too." No, not the camera. That camera cost me $2,000. It had every photo from this trip, every moment I'd captured. "Please," I said. My voice cracked. "Just take the money. Leave the camera." He smiled. You should have paid the $10. He reached for the camera. I twisted away. The man holding my arm yanked me back hard. I heard something pop in my shoulder. White-hot pain. I yelled. The oil man grabbed the camera strap and pulled. It was still around my neck. The strap tightened, choking me. I couldn't breathe. I clawed at it with my free hand. He pulled harder. Then I heard a voice, a woman's voice, sharp, angry, shouting in Arabic. The men stopped, turned. It was the tea vendor, the woman from the square. She was standing at the entrance to the alley, yelling at them, pointing. The oil man said something back. She didn't back down. She kept shouting, kept pointing. Then she pulled out a phone and held it up, like she was filming, or calling someone. The man holding my arm let go. The oil man released the camera strap. I doubled over, gasping, coughing, my throat burned. The men backed away, still watching me, still angry, but hesitating. The woman kept shouting. She was tiny, maybe 5'2", but she wasn't scared. She stood there like a wall between me and them. The oil man spat on the ground, said something under his breath. Then he turned and walked away. The others followed, slowly, reluctantly, but they left. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the ground. My shoulder throbbed, my throat felt raw. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't control them. The woman walked over, looked down at me. You okay? I nodded, but I wasn't. I was very far from okay. Can you stand? She asked. I tried. My legs were weak. She offered her hand. I took it and pulled myself up. Thank you, I said. My voice was hoarse. They would have taken everything. She nodded. Maybe worse. They are getting bolder. Why? I asked. Why me? She shrugged. You are alone. You look lost. Easy target. She glanced down the alley. You need to leave. Now. They will come back with more. I felt sick. How do I get out of here? I don't even know where I am. She thought for a moment. You have money for a taxi? I checked my pockets. My wallet was gone, but I had some loose bills. About $20. A little. Follow me, she said. Stay close. We walked out of the alley, back into the wider street. She moved fast. I followed. My shoulder burned with every step. We turned left, then right, then left again. I had no idea where we were going. I just trusted her. After about 5 minutes, we emerged onto a busier street. Cars, motorbikes, people, light. I almost cried with relief. She walked to the curb and flagged down a taxi. An old Mercedes, dented and faded. The driver rolled down the window. She spoke to him in Arabic, fast, pointed at me. The driver nodded. She opened the back door. Get in. I hesitated. What did you tell him? She looked at me with tired eyes. I told him you are in trouble. I told him to take you somewhere safe. I told him not to stop until you say so. I got in. She closed the door. I rolled down the window. Thank you, really. I don't know how to thank you. She shook her head. Just be careful. Morocco is beautiful, but not everyone is kind. She stepped back. The driver pulled away. I watched her through the rear window until she disappeared into the crowd. The driver didn't speak. He just drove. I slumped in the back seat, trying to process what had just happened. My wallet was gone. My shoulder was injured. My throat hurt. But I still had my camera. I still had my phone. I was still alive. That had to count for something. Where do you want to go? The driver asked in accented English. I gave him the name of my riad. He nodded. We drove in silence. But after a few minutes, he glanced at me in the rearview mirror. You had trouble? I nodded. Yeah. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Jemaa el-Fnaa? I stared at him. How did you know? He shrugged. It happens, more now than before. They worked together, trap tourists. He paused. You were lucky. I didn't feel lucky. I felt terrified, angry, Stupid. But he was right. It could have been so much worse. The taxi moved slowly through the Medina. Too slowly. Every time we stopped at an intersection, I looked out the windows, watching for them. The oil man, the green jacket, any of them. My heart wouldn't stop racing. My hands were still shaking. The driver glanced at me in the mirror again. "You are safe now," he said. But I wasn't sure. I didn't feel safe. I felt like prey that had barely escaped, and prey that escapes once can be hunted again. We turned onto a wider street. More traffic. More light. I recognized this area. We were getting close to my riad. Maybe 10 minutes away. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes. Tried to breathe. My shoulder throbbed. I rolled it carefully. Sharp pain. Probably pulled something when that guy twisted my arm. I'd deal with it later. Right now I just needed to get inside. Lock the door. Figure out what to do next. The taxi slowed down. I opened my eyes. We were stuck behind a donkey cart. The driver honked. The cart didn't move. Traffic was backing up behind us. The driver muttered something in Arabic. I looked out the window. We were on a narrow street lined with shops, people everywhere. Too many people. I couldn't see clearly. Then I saw movement. To my right. A man in a green jacket. My stomach dropped. No, it couldn't be. I leaned forward. "Drive," I said. The driver looked confused. "The cart." "Go around it. Now." Something in my voice made him listen. He turned the wheel hard, squeezed past the cart with inches to spare. The donkey brayed. The cart owner shouted. The driver didn't stop. We accelerated down the street. I looked back through the rear window. The man in the green jacket was running, and he wasn't alone. 2 others were with him. They were pushing through the crowd, moving fast. The driver saw them too. His eyes went wide. "They are following you?" I nodded. "Yes, please. Just get me out of here." He pressed the gas. The taxi lurched forward. We were going too fast for the narrow streets. People jumped out of the way. A motorbike swerved to avoid us, but the driver didn't slow down. We took a sharp right turn. The tires squealed. I grabbed the door handle to steady myself. My shoulder screamed in pain. We shot down another street. This one was even narrower. Buildings on both sides. Laundry hanging overhead. The driver kept checking the mirror. "Still there?" I looked back. I couldn't see them. But that didn't mean they weren't coming. "I don't know. Maybe we lost them." The driver shook his head. "They know the Medina. Better than me. Better than anyone." He took another turn. Then another. We were winding through a maze of streets. I had no idea where we were anymore. The GPS on my phone was spinning. Couldn't keep up. The driver kept driving. Fast. Reckless. After a few minutes, he slowed down. Pulled over near a small mosque. Turned off the engine. "Why are we stopping?" I asked. He turned to face me. "You cannot go to your riad." I stared at him. "What? Why not?" He pointed out the window. "They know the Medina. If they saw you get in my taxi, they know where you are staying. They will wait for you there." My blood went cold. He was right. I'd told them nothing, but they could figure it out. Ask around. Follow the taxi. Wait for me to come back. So what do I do? He thought for a moment. "You need to leave. Tonight. Go to a hotel outside the Medina, near the new city, where tourists are safe." I checked my phone. It was almost 8 at night. "My stuff is at the riad, my passport, my clothes, everything." He shook his head. "Too dangerous. You go back, they find you." I felt trapped. I can't just leave everything. The driver pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke in Arabic, fast and urgent. I caught a few words that sounded like my riad's name. He hung up. "My cousin works near your riad. He will get your things. But you must tell me exactly where they are." I described my room. 2nd floor. Blue door. My bag was on the bed. My passport was in the inside pocket. The driver relayed the information. Then he started the car again. We drove out of the Medina. The streets got wider, modern. Cars moved normally. Streetlights, traffic signals. We were in Guelis, the new part of Marrakech. The driver pulled up in front of a hotel. Clean. Bright. A doorman in a uniform. "Stay here tonight," he said. "Tomorrow you go to the airport. You leave Morocco." I nodded. He was right. This trip was over. I paid him with the cash I had left. It wasn't enough, but he waved off the rest. "Be safe," he said. I got out. My legs felt weak. I walked into the hotel lobby. Clean tile floors, air conditioning. A woman at the front desk smiled at me. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation?" I shook my head. "I need a room. For tonight." "Just tonight." She checked her computer. "We have availability. May I see your passport?" My stomach sank. "I don't have it with me. It's being brought here. Soon." She looked uncertain. "I'm sorry, sir, but we require identification to check in." I leaned on the counter. "Please, I'm in trouble. I was robbed. My passport is coming. I just need a safe place to stay." She looked at me for a long moment. Took in my disheveled appearance. My camera hanging crooked. The fear in my eyes. "One moment," she said. She made a phone call. Spoke quietly. Hung up. "My manager will make an exception. But you must provide your passport within 2 hours, or we will have to ask you to leave." I nodded. "Thank you. Thank you so much." She took my information. Credit card, phone number, address back home. Gave me a key card. "Room 312, 3rd floor." I took the key and headed for the elevator. The room was basic. Clean bed, small bathroom. A window overlooking the street. I locked the door. Put the chain on. Set my camera and phone on the desk. Then I collapsed on the bed. My whole body hurt. My shoulder. My throat. My legs from all the running. But more than the physical pain, I felt exhausted. Emotionally drained. I'd come to Morocco to escape pain. Instead, I'd found a different kind of pain. A different kind of fear. I lay there for a while. Staring at the ceiling. Trying to make sense of it. How had a simple trip to a market turned into a manhunt? How had I become a target? I wasn't rich. I wasn't flashy. I was just a guy with a camera trying to take pictures. But that was enough. Being foreign was enough. Being alone was enough. Being vulnerable was enough. My phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" It was the taxi driver. "My cousin has your bag. He is bringing it to your hotel now. 10 minutes. Relief washed over me. "Thank you. Really. I can't thank you enough." He was quiet for a moment. "What happened to you is not Morocco. Not the real Morocco. But it is getting worse. Tourists are being targeted more. The police do nothing. I am sorry." "It's not your fault," I said. "You saved me." He hung up. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited. 10 minutes felt like an hour. Finally, there was a knock on my door. I looked through the peephole. A young man holding my backpack. I opened the door. "Ethan Miller?" he asked. I nodded. He handed me the bag. "From your Riyadh. Everything is there." I checked quickly. Passport. Clothes. Toiletries. My laptop. All there. "Thank you," I said. I tried to give him money, but he refused. My cousin said no. "You are safe. That is enough." He left. I closed the door. Locked it again. Sat back down on the bed with my passport in my hands. I'd never been so happy to see it. I opened my laptop. Searched for flights. There was one leaving tomorrow afternoon. Marrakech to Paris to Seattle. I booked it. Didn't even care about the price. I just needed to get home. I took a shower. The hot water felt good. Washed away the sweat and the fear. I looked at my shoulder in the mirror. Bruised. Swollen. but I could move it. Nothing broken. My throat had red marks where the camera strap had dug in. I touched them gently. They hurt, but they'd heal. Everything would heal. I got dressed and lay down on the bed, turned on the TV, some Moroccan news channel. I didn't understand a word, but the noise was comforting, normal. I picked up my camera, scrolled through the photos I'd taken. The market, the square, the sunset. They looked beautiful, like a postcard, like a dream. But they were a lie. They showed the surface, not the danger underneath. I thought about deleting them, all of them, but I didn't, because they were real too. The beauty was real. The terror was also real. Morocco was both things at once. I just hadn't expected the terror to find me so quickly. So completely. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. Every sound in the hallway made me jump. Every car horn outside made my heart race. I kept seeing their faces, the oil man's smile, the green jacket, the dead-end alley, the hands grabbing me, the strap around my throat. I couldn't turn it off, couldn't stop replaying it. Around midnight, I gave up on sleep. I sat at the desk and wrote everything down. Every detail, every moment. From the first time I saw the oil man to the taxi ride to the hotel. I wrote it all. Not for anyone else. Just for me. To process it. To make it real. To prove to myself that it had actually happened. When I finished writing, I felt a little better. A little more in control. I looked at the clock. 3 in the morning. My flight was at 2 in the afternoon. 11 hours. I just needed to survive 11 more hours. Then I'd be gone. Then I'd be safe. Then I'd be home. I must have fallen asleep at some point because when I opened my eyes, sunlight was streaming through the window. I checked my phone. 9 in the morning. I'd slept for maybe 5 hours. Not enough. But it would have to do. I packed my bag, double-checked everything. Passport, wallet, wait. I didn't have my wallet. They'd taken it. But I had my passport. That was enough. I went downstairs, checked out. The woman from last night was gone. A man was at the desk now. He processed my checkout without questions. I walked outside. The street was busy, normal. I flagged down a taxi. Airport, I said. The driver nodded. We drove through the new city, then out toward the highway. The airport was about 20 minutes away. I watched the city pass by. The palm trees, the buildings, the mountains in the distance. It was beautiful, but I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to leave. We pulled up to the airport. I paid the driver, went inside. The terminal was crowded, tourists everywhere, families, couples, solo travelers like me. I wondered if any of them had experienced what I had, or if I was just unlucky. I checked in, got my boarding pass, went through security, found my gate, sat down and waited. The flight boarded on time. I found my seat, window seat. I buckled in and stared out at the tarmac. The plane filled up, the doors closed, the engine started. We taxied to the runway, and then we were lifting off, climbing. The city got smaller below me, the medina, the square, all of it shrinking until it was just a pattern of brown and white. And then it was gone, hidden by clouds. I leaned back and closed my eyes. For the first time in 24 hours, I felt safe. The flight to Paris was 6 hours. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. The oil man reaching for my camera. The green jacket blocking the street. The dead-end alley. The woman shouting. It all played on a loop in my head. I tried watching a movie on the seatback screen. Couldn't focus. Tried reading. The words blurred together. I just sat there, staring at nothing, feeling the plane carry me farther and farther away from Morocco. When we landed in Paris, I had a 4-hour layover. I found a quiet corner in the terminal. Bought an overpriced sandwich I didn't eat. Sat with my back against a wall where I could see everyone coming and going. Old habits. I checked my phone. Messages from my mom, from friends, asking how the trip was going, asking for photos. I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? That I'd nearly been robbed? That I'd been hunted through the streets like an animal? That I'd escaped only because strangers helped me? It sounded insane, even to me. I looked at the photos on my camera again. The square at sunset, the acrobats, the snake charmers, the spice vendors with their pyramids of saffron and cumin. They looked magical, exotic. The kind of photos people post on Instagram with captions like, "Living my best life," or "Wanderlust fulfilled." But all I felt when I looked at them was sick, because I knew what happened next. I knew what was hiding just outside the frame. The flight to Seattle was longer. 11 hours. I took a sleeping pill the flight attendant gave me. It helped a little. I drifted in and out, half asleep, half awake, dreaming about running through narrow streets, about hands grabbing me, about voices shouting in a language I didn't understand. I woke up sweating. The person next to me looked concerned. "You okay?" they asked. I nodded. Bad dream. They didn't push. I was grateful. When we finally landed in Seattle, it was evening, raining. The city looked gray and cold through the window, but it was home. I went through customs. The officer looked at my passport, looked at me. "Welcome back. How was Morocco?" I forced a smile. "Interesting." He stamped my passport and waved me through. I collected my bag, walked out into the arrivals area, took a deep breath. American air. Seattle air. Safe air. I took a rideshare back to my apartment. The driver tried making small talk, asked about my trip. I gave short answers. Fine. Hot. Busy. He got the hint and stopped asking. We drove in silence. The familiar streets, the familiar buildings. Everything looked the same. But I felt different. Changed. Like something inside me had shifted and couldn't shift back. My apartment was exactly how I'd left it. Clean. Empty. Quiet. I dropped my bag by the door, walked to the window, looked out at the city, the lights, the traffic, the rain. It felt surreal. 3 days ago I was in Marrakech, running for my life. Now I was home. Safe. But I didn't feel safe. I felt hollowed out. I couldn't sleep that night. Or the next. Every sound made me jump. A car door slamming. A neighbor walking in the hallway. The wind against the window. I kept checking the locks. Kept looking out the peephole. Kept expecting to see someone standing there. Watching. Waiting. But no one was there. I was alone. Completely alone. My shoulder got worse before it got better. The bruising spread down my arm. Dark purple and yellow. It hurt to lift anything. Hurt to sleep on that side. I should have gone to a doctor. But I didn't. I just took ibuprofen and waited for it to heal. The marks on my throat faded after a week. But I could still feel the strap tightening. Could still feel the panic of not being able to breathe. I tried going back to work. Sitting at my desk. Designing logos and websites like I'd done for years. But I couldn't focus. My mind kept wandering. Kept replaying Morocco. My boss noticed. Called me into his office. "You seem distracted," he said. "Everything okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just tired. Jet lag." He didn't believe me. I could tell. But he didn't push. "Take a few days if you need," he said. I did. I spent those days in my apartment. Didn't go out much. Ordered food, watched TV, tried to feel normal. But normal felt impossible. I'd scroll through social media and see people posting vacation photos. Beaches, mountains, cities. Everyone smiling. Everyone having the time of their lives. And I'd feel angry. Angry that they didn't know. Didn't understand. That travel wasn't always safe. That beautiful places could hide ugly things. My mom called. I didn't answer at first, but she kept calling. Finally, I picked up. Ethan, I've been worried. You haven't posted anything. How was Morocco? I hesitated. It was fine. She knew me too well. That doesn't sound fine. What happened? I told her. Not everything, but enough. The vendors, the chase, the fear. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I'm so sorry, honey. That must have been terrifying." Hearing her say it made it real in a way it hadn't been before. My throat tightened. Yeah, it was. She wanted me to come home, to Portland, to stay with her for a while. I told her I was okay, that I just needed time. She made me promise to call more, to check in. I promised, but I didn't keep it. Talking about it made it worse, made it harder to move past. A month went by, then two. The physical pain faded. My shoulder healed. The marks on my throat disappeared. But the other pain stayed. The mental stuff, the fear, the hypervigilance, the nightmares. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning, heart pounding, convinced someone was in my apartment. I'd check every room, every closet, every window. No one was ever there. But I kept checking anyway. I stopped traveling. Friends invited me on trips, weekend getaways. I said no, made excuses, too busy, too expensive, too tired. They stopped asking after a while. I stopped posting on social media, stopped engaging with their posts, stopped pretending I was okay. I wasn't okay. And I didn't know how to be okay again. One night, I finally looked at the photos again. Really looked at them. And I realized something. The photos weren't the problem. Morocco wasn't the problem. The beauty was real. The danger was real. Both existed. Both were true. And maybe that was the point. That life isn't safe. That beauty doesn't guarantee safety. That you can be in the most stunning place in the world and still be in danger. That vulnerability is part of the human experience. Part of being alive. I started writing about it. Not for publication. Not for anyone else. Just for me. I wrote about the fear, the chase, the escape, the aftermath, the sleepless nights, the hypervigilance, the slow, painful process of trying to feel safe again. And as I wrote, something shifted. The memories became less immediate, less raw. They were still there, still painful, but they had a shape now, a narrative, a beginning, middle, and end. 3 months after Morocco, I finally told my friends the full story. We were at dinner. Someone asked why I'd been so distant, and instead of making an excuse, I told them the truth. Everything. They listened, didn't interrupt, didn't judge. When I finished, one of them said, "That's horrifying. I'm so sorry that happened to you." Another said, "You're incredibly brave for sharing that." I didn't feel brave, but it helped to say it out loud, to have witnesses. I started seeing a therapist. I didn't want to. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I couldn't. The fear wasn't going away. The nightmares weren't stopping. The hypervigilance was exhausting. So I made an appointment, sat in a small office and told a stranger everything. She listened, nodded, said I was experiencing trauma, that what I felt was normal, that it would take time to heal, but that I would heal. It's been 6 months now. I'm better. Not perfect. Not the same as before, but better. I sleep more. The nightmares are less frequent. I can go out without constantly looking over my shoulder. I've even started traveling again. Small trips, close to home, places I feel safe, but I'm working up to more. Because I realized something important. What happened in Morocco doesn't define me. It changed me, scared me, hurt me, but it doesn't own me. I still have the photos. I've never posted them, never shared them, but I keep them, because they're part of the story, the whole story. The beauty and the terror, the dream and the nightmare, They remind me that the world is complicated, that people are complicated, that danger exists alongside beauty, and that surviving something horrible doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. I don't regret going to Morocco. I regret what happened, but I don't regret the trip, because it taught me something I didn't know before, that I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive things I never imagined surviving. That fear doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the middle, and the end can be something else entirely. Something like acceptance, something like growth, something like moving forward even when you're scared. I still think about Marrakech sometimes, not every day anymore, but often enough. I think about the light at sunset, the way it turned everything gold, the sound of the drums echoing across the square, the smell of mint tea and grilled meat, the chaos and color and life. And then I think about the other parts, the fear, the chase, the moment I realized I was trapped. Both memories exist together now. I don't try to separate them anymore. People ask me if I'd ever go back. The answer is complicated. Part of me wants to. Part of me wants to prove that what happened doesn't define the place. That Morocco is more than one bad experience. That millions of people visit safely every year. That I was unlucky. That it could have happened anywhere. But another part of me knows I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. And that's okay too. What I learned in Morocco wasn't what I expected to learn. I went there to escape a breakup, to find myself, to heal. Instead, I learned about vulnerability, about how quickly safety can disappear, about how alone you can feel in a crowd, about how trauma lives in your body long after the danger has passed. Those aren't the lessons you see in travel blogs. They're not the stories people share on Instagram. But they're real, and they matter. I also learned about kindness. The tea vendor who warned me, who risked herself to help a stranger. The taxi driver who went out of his way to get me to safety. His cousin who retrieved my belongings. These people owed me nothing, but they helped anyway. They saw someone in danger and acted. That matters too. Maybe more than the fear. Because it proves that even in the worst moments, humanity exists. Compassion exists. Help exists. My camera sits on my desk now. I use it for work sometimes. Product photography, headshots, safe, controlled shoots in studios where nothing unexpected happens. I haven't taken it traveling again. Haven't felt the urge. But I think I will someday. Not to Morocco. Not yet. But somewhere. Because the world is still beautiful, still worth seeing, still worth capturing. Fear doesn't erase that. It just makes you more careful, more aware, more grateful for the moments when nothing goes wrong. The photos from that trip are still on the memory card. I've never deleted them. But I've never looked at them again either. They're frozen in time. A record of before. Before I knew what was coming. Before the fear set in. Before everything changed. Maybe one day I'll be able to look at them without feeling sick, without remembering the hands grabbing me, the strap tightening around my throat, the dead-end alley, the running. Maybe. But not yet. What I want people to understand is this. Bad things can happen anywhere, to anyone. Being careful doesn't guarantee safety. Being smart doesn't guarantee safety. Sometimes you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's terrifying. But it's also true. And pretending it's not true doesn't make you safer. It just makes you unprepared. But I also want people to understand this. Surviving something horrible doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean your life is over. It means you're human. It means you experienced something traumatic and you're still here, still breathing. Still moving forward, even if it's slow, even if it's painful, even if some days you don't want to, you're still here. And that counts for something. I don't tell this story to scare people. I don't tell it to make people avoid Morocco or avoid traveling. I tell it because it's true. Because it happened. Because hiding it doesn't make it go away. And because maybe someone else has been through something similar and needs to know they're not alone. That the fear is normal. That the healing takes time. That it's okay to not be okay for a while. If you take anything from this story, take this. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore that voice in your head telling you to leave. Don't worry about being polite. Don't worry about offending anyone. Your safety matters more. Always. And if something does happen, if you find yourself in danger, know that it's not your fault. You didn't cause it. You didn't deserve it. You were just unlucky. And with help, with time, with support, you'll survive it. You'll heal. You'll move forward. Just like I did. Thank you for listening to my story. If it helped you in any way, please subscribe to this channel. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. And leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Stay safe out there. The world is beautiful, but it's also unpredictable. Be careful, be aware, and never travel alone if you can help it.